A dog vanished one night after finally reaching safety. 36 days later, two men on a boat saw something moving in the water off the coast of England. At first, they thought it was a seal, but it wasn't. It was a rescue dog named Amber, tired, frightened, and struggling against the tide as she tried to swim back from an island she never should have reached in the first place. By the time they pulled her from the water, Amber had been missing for more than a month. She had crossed miles of wilderness. She had slipped past the people trying to save her. And somehow, this sweet, frightened dog had survived long enough to make her story almost impossible to believe. To understand how Amber ended up there, you have to go back to the day her new life was supposed to begin. Amber was 5 years old, a golden retriever mix who had already known far too much hardship. She had been rescued as a stray puppy from the streets of Qatar and had spent most of her life in a shelter. Then, at last, she was brought to England by KS Angels Rescue. This was supposed to be her fresh start. A foster home had been arranged for her in Bramshaw, in the New Forest. She was finally meant to have safety, a warm place to sleep, regular meals, gentle hands, a future. But Amber was only there for one night. The very next day, on April 25th, she was gone. No one can say for certain what happened in that moment. Maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she was confused. Maybe, after years of surviving on instinct, this new life still felt too unfamiliar to trust. Whatever the reason, Amber got out. And once she ran, she kept running. At first, people hoped she would be found quickly. A sighting here, a phone call there, a few worried hours, maybe a day. But that is not what happened. Amber was seen again and again. People reported spotting her near roads, in the forest, near towns, and out in the open. Searchers went looking for her. Food stations were set up. Cameras were placed in areas where she had been seen. So many people tried to help. But every time someone came close, Amber slipped away again. That is what makes her story so heartbreaking. Amber was not lying somewhere waiting to be rescued. She was moving, always moving. She was frightened, alert, and relying on the survival instincts that had carried her through so much already. As the days passed, the search turned into something painful. Not because people had stopped caring, because they cared so deeply and still could not reach her. The sightings kept coming, more than 60 in all. Just think about that. More than 60 times people saw Amber alive. More than 60 times there was hope, and more than 60 times she was gone again before anyone could bring her to safety. If you've ever loved a rescue dog, leave Amber a little heart in the comments, because by this point, I think anyone watching is rooting for her. Day after day, Amber kept choosing distance. The New Forest is beautiful, but it is also wide and unpredictable. In some places it opens up, in others it becomes dense and easy to disappear into. And while the people searching were thinking in roads, routes, and maps, Amber was thinking like an animal who had learned to survive by staying away. The longer it went on, the more unbelievable it became. This was a dog in a strange country, a dog who barely knew these people, a dog who had every reason to be afraid. And still, somehow, she kept going. Then the story took an even stranger turn. Amber began moving southwest, away from where most people thought she would stay. She crossed the forest and headed toward the coast, toward sandbanks. And when she reached the shoreline, she did something that sounds almost impossible. She swam. Amber entered the water and swam across Poole Harbor to Brownsea Island, a full mile through open water. It is hard enough to imagine a healthy, confident dog doing that. Amber was neither of those things. She was alone, frightened, exhausted, and still running on pure instinct. Yet somehow, she made it. For a few days, Amber stayed on Brownsea Island. A resident there spotted her and began leaving food out each night. That quiet act of kindness says so much about this story. In the middle of all that worry, there was still someone willing to care for her from a distance. No fanfare, no attention. Just food left out for a dog who needed help. For 4 nights, Amber came back. She would eat, then disappear. Eat, then disappear. Still cautious, still frightened, still not ready to trust anyone enough to come close. Then came the moment that nearly ended everything. Amber went back into the water. This time, she was trying to leave the island and head toward the mainland. Maybe she was trying to keep moving. Maybe she was trying to find her way back. Maybe, after 36 days on the run, moving forward was simply the only thing she knew how to do. But this time, the tide was against her. A passing ferry crew saw something in the water. At first, they thought it was a seal. Then they realized it was a dog. And not a dog swimming well, a dog struggling, a dog growing weaker. After everything Amber had already survived, the forest, the roads, the fear, the hunger, the distance, this final stretch of water may have been the most dangerous part of all. But this time, someone reached her. The crew turned the boat around. They pulled Amber on board. And after all those weeks of sightings, near misses, and heartbreak, Amber was finally safe. She was thin, she was exhausted, but she was alive. When the people searching for her got the call, it must have felt almost unreal, because by then, this was no longer just the story of a missing dog. It had become 36 days of hope, worry, setbacks, and determination. 36 days of people refusing to give up on her. And when Amber was taken to the vet, the news was better than anyone could have hoped. She had lost weight, she was tired, but she was okay. That is what makes this story so moving. Amber was not just found. She endured. She survived. And she did it after a life that had already asked far too much of her. There is also something deeper in Amber's story. She did not run because she was bad. She did not vanish because she was ungrateful. She ran because fear does not disappear overnight. A soft bed does not instantly erase years of survival. Love can be waiting for you. Safety can be right there. And still, the old fear can win for a while. That is why so many people feel this story in their hearts. Because Amber was carrying her old life inside her, even while new people were trying to give her a better one. And for 36 days, that fear kept telling her to run. But there is one more beautiful part to this story. People never stopped trying. Not the rescue group, not the foster family, not the strangers who reported sightings, not the person on the island who left out food, not the ferry crew who turned around when they realized what they were seeing in the water. Amber survived because of instinct, but she got home because people kept caring. Today, Amber is back, recovering, eating, sleeping, receiving the love and care she should have had all along, and maybe, little by little, learning that she does not have to outrun the world anymore. A month earlier, she was a frightened rescue dog who slipped away into the dark after one night in a new home. 36 days later, she was a survivor pulled from the water after a 100-mile journey no one could have imagined. Some dogs are rescued once. Amber had to survive long enough to be rescued twice. And if this story touched your heart, go down to the comments and write, "Welcome home, Amber."